tiny do. Tell us the story on this and what your client is charged with right now.
He's actually being charged with 9 shootings. Each shooting carries a sentence of 25 to life. Now, the shootings are still unsolved, so they're still open cases. So the district attorney is choosing, rather than prosecute Mr. Duncan, rather than going out.
And that's his real name, is Duncan.
Yes,
okay.
yes, Brandon Duncan, to prosecute him rather than using their resources, your tax dollars, to go out and find the actual people who actually did the shootings, who are still out there. And based on their theory that his rap lyrics encourages violence. Now, he's considered a gangster rapper. And they're saying that not specifically, his rap lyrics didn't specifically reference any of these shootings. In fact, his album was made in 2012. It wasn't released in 2014. The shootings occurred over a year period of time in 2013. So the album hadn't even been released yet. But they're saying that this type of music encourages this type of violence, and thus they're trying to make him liable for it.
Well, I know we don't want to argue the merits of this particular case on the air because, you know, it is going through the process right now, and I know it's difficult to be specific. But let me ask you some specific questions about your client. These laws are designed to prevent gang members from profiting from criminal acts. Is your client affiliated with a gang?
He was a documented gang member back in 1997, but he's not an active member of any gang. So that's one issue here. And when they're talking about profiting from, they're not talking about money or revenue. Their theory is based on the fact that when gang members do violence, the gang receives elevated status. And that's just some intangible benefit that they're trying to allege.
But elevated status also leads to increased profit. I mean, gangs have illicit activity, criminal activity that they do profit from. And increased status increases their profit. I mean, can we deny that?
Well, if you're talking about something like drug sales or something like that, we can show that there's a profit. But what they're alleging here is that Mr. Duncan had no knowledge of these shootings. Not only was he not involved in the shootings, he didn't even have any knowledge of the shootings. So clearly he's not receiving a benefit for something he had no knowledge of.
Does your client, though, have any remorse at all or any thoughts about making a profit himself based on gangster rap, which basically incites violence, promotes violence? It talks about a very seamy underbelly side of society. Any thoughts about that at all and about profiting from that?
Well, he's a storyteller, and that's what he does. He's just telling a story. I think we should all be concerned when the government starts criminalizing artistic expression. And what's next? Does Al Pacino and Brian De Palma, do they get criminally charged for promoting drug trafficking, drug dealing? I can guarantee you, if you execute a search warrant in any drug dealer's home, he's got a picture of Scarface hanging in his house.
Yeah, and it's a very, very fair question, and I don't think we're close to maybe being able to answer this yet, but people have been prosecuted, other rappers have been prosecuted specifically for the explicit lyrics that basically promote physical violence and then trying to draw a physical connection to that violence. They have been prosecuted in the past, have they not?
No, actually this is the first case.
This is the very first case?
Yes, the law's been on the books for about 10 years. What happened was that when the law was put to the legislator, the legal analysts looked at the law and said, this law is completely unconstitutional, and kicked it back. The District Attorneys Association took the law and put it on the ballot in Prop 21, and the voters, not understanding the ramifications of the law, voted